Yeah, is my screen visible to you all?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So as we all discussed yesterday, that what is an Azure Data Factory? It is a cloud-based ETL tool. So it is also a data integration service using which we can create our pipelines for orchestrating the data movement and transforming the data at scale. Okay. So what is the concept which we use as a connection string? Is it a data set or linked service?
It is a linked service.
Very good. So, which is a concept which we use it to point to a certain file or a resource, file or an image.
Data set. Data set actually it's a file.
Yes, it's a data set. Yeah, who told these answers? Is it
This
Ravi
is
Verma or
Satish.
Satish? Oh, yeah, Satish. Okay. Yeah. Coming to an activity, it represents a processing step in a pipeline. So, whenever you design a pipeline, it contains many activities which perform different tasks. So, if you want to put all these activities together, then you create a pipeline wherein which you will be having one or more activities which together perform a task. So, we also discussed triggers. What are these triggers? So, if you want to automate your pipeline executions, then you will be using this concept called triggers. So, there are three types of triggers which we'll be discussing in detail again. So coming to parameters, there are two types of parameters, global parameters. So what is a global parameter? So what is a global parameter? Any one of you? What is a global parameter?
You can initiate all the pipelines, the very
Yeah. So whenever you create a pipeline, whenever you create a global parameter, this parameter can be used by all the pipelines which are present in your Azure Data Factory. Whereas coming to this pipeline parameter is only specific to that particular pipeline in which you have created that parameter. So here we have seen with an example comparing the Azure Data Factory thing and an example scenario. So Azure Data Factory can be, Azure Data Factory's role is similar to the role of a delivery manager. Whereas the integration runtime, so integration runtime can be compared to delivery boy. So today we will be learning what is this integration runtime. This is the main thing which is doing all the things here. So as we can see, delivery boy can be compared to integration runtime. So everything is done by integration runtime. So what is this integration runtime? We'll discuss today. So these are very important. That is why I have documented all this, all these sentences, so that you can directly go through this document while you attend interviews. So in all of the interviews, definitely they'll be asking you what is this Azure Data Factory. You can tell all these points, and if they ask you important concepts, you have to tell all these things.
I think we haven't received this doc yet, I think.
Okay, yeah, I'll be sharing this. Yeah. So okay, 1 second. Yeah. Now let's start today's class. Yeah, I have told you this integration runtime is the main concept which is doing all the things. So what is this integration runtime? This integration runtime is nothing but the compute infrastructure used by the Azure Data Factory. So whatever you want to perform in Azure Data Factory or anywhere in the cloud, you need to have some infrastructure. Infrastructure in the sense hardware. So all our hardware is present in the cloud provider data centers. So what is the hardware used by the Azure Data Factory? The hardware used by the Azure Data Factory is calculated in terms of, it is named as integration runtime. What are the infrastructure? So what all the compute infrastructure is required for Azure Data Factory to function? Everything is present in this integration runtime. Okay, it is integration runtime. It is nothing but the compute infrastructure used by the Azure Data Factory to connect to different networks and performing data movements and executing activities. So what is this integration runtime doing? So this integration runtime, it is making us to be able to connect to different networks. So, see, if you take the example of this delivery man, what is this delivery man doing? This delivery boy is able to move to any place. So, in the same way, this integration runtime will give us the capability to connect to different networks and also perform data movements. So, the delivery boy is able to move anywhere. He can also move the content. What this delivery man will do, this delivery boy will do, he will carry some content. So in the same way here, the data, this integration runtime will also be able to give us the capability of data movement and also executing activities. We have discussed that there are activities which perform a step of action. So in order to execute that activities also, you need some hardware on which these activities will run. So that hardware will also be provided by this integration runtime. Okay. So this integration runtime is nothing but the compute infrastructure. So compute infrastructure used by the Azure Data Factory. Why are we using this integration runtime? To connect to different networks and perform the data movements and execute the activities. So these are all the things being performed by the integration runtime. Okay, is it clear? What is this integration runtime? Did you understand the concept of integration runtime? Guys, are you able to hear me?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, yeah, we are able to. Yes, we are able to understand.
Yes. So it is just the compute infrastructure. So one of the favorite interview questions is this. So definitely you will be asked like, what is this integration runtime and what are the types of integration runtimes? For sure, in interviews, I have attended around 12 interviews. In all of them, they have asked this. In some or the other way, they will be asking you this about this integration runtimes. So coming to the types of integration runtimes. So this integration runtimes is giving us all these capabilities. But again, there are three types of integration runtimes. So based on our scenario, where are we? Each integration runtime will perform certain activity. For some purpose. So based upon your purpose, you will be using one among these integration runtimes. So the first one is Azure or Auto Resolve integration runtime. So when to use and why are you using this Azure or Auto Resolve integration runtime? So basically, when we open our Azure portal, it will be named as this Auto Resolve integration runtime. So it can also be called as Azure integration runtime. So why and when we will use this integration runtime? So this, we need not create this integration runtime. It is automatically created by the Azure Data Factory. So once we create our Azure Data Factory, this automatically gets created. What? This auto resolve integration runtime gets created because, see, uh, to connect to cloud networks and the services available inside the Azure. So what this auto resolve integration runtimes does is, so whenever you want to execute an activity, you require some hardware upon which that activity executes. So whenever you perform anything on Azure Data Factory, so inside an Azure Data Factory, anything you perform, that will get executed, that will use the hardware. So hardware is necessary to perform anything. So that hardware will be provided by this auto resolve integration runtime. So if you want to move your data within the clouds, then you'll use this Azure integration runtime or auto resolve integration runtime. So, see, only cloud networks. So, if you want to move your data within the cloud networks, you will use this auto resolve integration runtime. And also, this auto resolve integration runtime will be used to execute your activities. So, whenever you execute your activities, that activities need to be executed on a certain hardware. So, that hardware will be provided by this auto resolve integration runtime. So let's see in our Azure portal, where is this auto resolve integration present? One second, I'm logging in and sharing my screen. Yeah, I'm sharing my screen now. So this is our Azure portal. So which is the thing which is first necessary for us before creating all the resources? What we will we create first?
resource group.
Yeah. So first we should create resource group. So this is our previous resource group. Mm. So if you want to delete all the resources present under a resource group, how will you delete? You will go to
Did
each resource and click on delete, or directly you can come to
We can,
resource
we
group.
can directly delete that resource group itself. We no need to
Yes,
go
that
each and
is
every
the reason
document.
that is the reason we are grouping all the resources into resource group so that it will be easy for us to manage all the resources. So we can
is it
directly
the
come.
case? Is this the case all the times, Isira, or some cases it different? For example, if there are any storage accounts within the resource group, we need to delete the individual storage accounts first.
See, see how why are we maintaining this resource? For example, if you consider you are working for a project and you have completed that project. So now you want to, for example, you want to delete that environment. You want to delete the development environment itself, entire environment. So what you can come, all the resources which are used in that development environment are grouped into development resource group. So what is your thing, like what you want to do? You want to delete all the resources used in the development environment. So instead of going to each resource and deleting those, you can directly come to the resource group, that is development environment resource group, and delete the resource group here. So you asked us, what you asked is, if you want to delete only one storage account, you can directly go to that particular storage account and delete there.
Uh,
Okay?
okay,
Yeah. So it's based upon your requirement. So if my what I want now is, I want to delete what I have deleted on what I have created on day 6. I mean, I want to
okay,
delete all the resources present under day 6. So that is the
yeah.
reason I'm directly coming to this resource group and creating. So if your purpose is to delete only particular storage account, then you can directly open that storage account and you can delete there. Okay, it's totally depends upon the purpose.
Okay.
Yeah. So here, so whatever you do under the notifications, you will be getting all the notifications. So now we are trying to delete this. So it's giving us a notification that deleting the resource group. Once it gets completed, also you'll be receiving a notification that you have successfully deleted. So in the meanwhile, let's create a new one. So this is day 7 at 3. So for everything, you need to select the region. So by default, I'm taking East US. So I have also told you the reason behind taking East US. So it is the main data center of the Azure where all the services are present. But if you take other regions, few regions may have few services and few regions won't have few services. So when you take this East US, all the services are present here. So for our practice purpose, it will be easy for us if you go to this East US data center. I mean region. So it's giving us a notification that resource group have been created. So now what I want to show you guys is we have also seen how to create a data factory, right? In our day 6 we have seen it. So resource group we have already created, that is why we are able to see here. So for the first time when we have created the data factory, we have created it from here. So the same way I have told you, previously we used to have the other data factory version, that is version 1. So now we don't have it, it's the only version 2 which we are using, and the updated version. Coming to the settings, we need not know in detail about all the settings, but the tags. So what are these tags is, these are the key value pairs. So if you want to maintain any metadata regarding the data factory, so any information, if you want to maintain regarding that data factory, you can give that information in the form of key value pairs. So once we click on this launch studio, what is the URL which we get there? It will redirect us into which URL? What's the URL name?
adf.azure.com.
.com. Yes. So these are the five icons which will be available. First one is the home icon. Second one is the author, monitor, and manage. So you have to remember if in case someone asks you. So you should remember these names. So if someone asks you, you won't be like if you won't be able to tell, and if you tell that there'll be a pencil symbol, it doesn't seem to be good. And also people think that you do not have any real time experience. So try to remember the names. The pencil icon one is the author. Here, this is the monitor, and this is manage. So these are the things which we mostly use. So yeah, so under this monitor tab, you will be able to see this integration runtimes. In manage time also you will have this integration runtimes. So to just show you, yeah, see integration runtimes. What we have done, we have just launched our Azure Data Factory. So what, see, if we see under this integration runtimes, you are able to see this auto resolve integration runtime. So we have not created any integration runtime till now. We just launched our Azure Data Factory. So as soon as we launched our Azure Data Factory, we are able to see this auto resolve integration runtime. So what is this? What happened? So this is automatically created by the Azure Data Factory itself. So once you create the Azure Data Factory, directly this will be automatically created. You won't be creating this. This is automatically created. So one other thing which you need to consider here is, see, for every time you create a resource or anything, you will be selecting a region. But here, if you see under the region, what are you able to see here? Is it any region name? Is auto resolve a region name? No. So what is this auto resolve? So what do you mean by this auto resolve is that based upon where is your destination. For example, if you are copying some data from one storage account to another storage account, and one storage account is present in US and other storage account is present in UK. So if your region is auto resolve, what happens is based upon the sync region. So what is the sync in the sense the destination? What is destination in our example? Is it UK or US?
US.
You
Destination. I'm moving my data from US to UK.
UK is the destination.
Yeah. So what happens here is, so what is the activity which we use to copy the data from one location to another location? It is the copy activity which we use to copy the data from one location to other location. I mean, yeah, and one storage account to another storage account or anything. So what happens if your region is auto resolve is, since it will host the copy data activity. I've told you that even for an activity to run, it requires the hardware. So it is having US hardware and UK hardware. So if your region is auto resolve, what will this auto resolve integration runtime do is, so it will choose the destination hardware to run your activity. So I have told you that even our activity needs some hardware to execute. So where will it deploy that activity is, your activity will be running in the destination region. So if my destination is UK, where I need to send the data, that copy activity will be running from UK region itself. Why? What is the benefit of this is, so when our activity is running in the destination region, it will be fast. So that is the reason, here under this auto resolve integration runtime, we'll be having this region as auto resolve. So it is automatically resolving dynamically based upon the situation. It will auto resolve where to host that, I mean where to deploy all those activities and things. So that is why here the region is auto resolve. So did you understand this concept, why this auto resolve and what is happening in this auto resolve?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. So who is creating this auto resolve integration runtime? Are we creating?
Automatic
Yeah, it is
creating by
automatic.
itself.
automatically created by the Azure Data Factory. So whenever you create the Azure Data Factory, by default you will be getting this integration runtime. Why? So what is this? Why we use this auto resolve integration runtime? So if at all you want to move the data between any clouds, so if you want to move the data between Amazon and Azure, or Amazon or from GCP to Azure, so in that cases you will be using this auto resolve integration runtime.
Can we
And auto
say this as a compute resource?
can we share?
Can we say this auto resolve integration as a compute resource? Like
It's not a
C.
resource, it's a compute infrastructure. It is
Okay,
the
okay,
compute
okay.
infrastructure which is given to us by the Azure. So
Okay.
this is the compute infrastructure. Whatever the Azure Data Factory is running, so everything will be deployed on this auto resolve integration runtime. So whenever you perform anything, it requires hardware, no? So that hardware will be provided by this auto resolve integration runtime. And also you understood the what is this auto resolve integration runtime, no? So based
Yes,
upon the
yes, yes.
destination,
Got it,
your
got it.
things get hosted in the destination. So the other types of integration runtimes available are, so now we have covered this Azure integration runtime. So Azure integration runtime or auto resolve integration runtime, as we can see here. So if you come under Azure, so if you see in the self-hosted integration runtime, self-hosted integration runtime is a software which we need to install manually in our desktops. I mean, you will be installing the self-hosted integration runtime. So if I want to move the data which is present on my desktop to Azure, so I will be downloading this self-hosted integration runtime software on my desktop, and then establish the connection between my local desktop and Azure Data Factory, and then I'll send the data from my local desktop to the Azure. So in such cases, you will be using this self-hosted integration runtime. Till now, we have
So
not created.
yes,
Yeah.
you see the one thing here, the self-hosted thing. Suppose if we are
Yes.
receiving, we are not consuming the files from any cloud environment like GCP or Azure. The files are
Okay.
directly coming to our local Unix server or Linux server, wherever it is. So in
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
case, we have to use the self-hosted integration service,
Yes. So what is happening here now? You are receiving the data to your some other local
Linux
systems.
something, yeah, server,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. From that server, now we need to send the data from that server to Azure. So how you will
Okay,
do is this: you will be installing this self-hosted integration runtime software on your system, that is Linux or some Unix system. From there, you will establish, once you download that software, we'll be seeing this scenario, how to send the data from our desktop to this Azure Data Factory. So what happens is, you will be installing this self-hosted integration runtime software on your machine, that is Unix, Linux, or some Windows, anything. And then you will establish a relation between your system and this Azure Data Factory. So how will you be establishing this? You will be using a concept called keys. So keys are just a connection string. So based on that, you will establish the connection and then move the data from that server to Azure. Okay. So from the which system you want to send the data, on that system you will be downloading this self-hosted integration runtime software. Is it clear?
Yes, it's like a two-way communication.
Yeah. Is it clear, guys?
Yes, Sisira.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So here I have told you that this auto resolve integration runtime or Azure integration runtime, these are synonyms. So under Azure, Azure will be providing you this auto resolve integration runtime. So which is automatically created by us. Sorry, which is automatically created by Azure. This integration runtime will be automatically created by Azure when you create this in Azure Data Factory. And coming to this Azure SSIS integration runtime, so you'll be having so for example, you are having a project which have developed all its SSIS packages on premises. So since this SSIS is Windows, that is Microsoft's product, This SSIS is a Microsoft product, so that is the reason they have given us an ability to directly deploy all those SSIS packages into Azure Data Factory and execute them. So since the SSIS is their product, they have given this feature. So directly we can bring all those SSIS packages into cloud. So instead of again redeveloping all those SSIS packages which you have created on premises, they have given us an ability, a feature where you can directly bring all your SSIS packages which you have created on premises to the cloud, and then you can execute this. So to execute all those SSIS packages, you will be using this Azure SSIS integration runtime. Okay, these are the three different types of integration runtimes which are available. So let's see the definitions of them. Is it clear for all of you? Integration runtime, what is integration runtime in one word?
Can you switch to your content?
Compute infrastructure.
Yes, integration runtime is nothing but the compute infrastructure which is used by the Azure Data Factory. So you guys should be able to tell me all these definitions. On Monday, see, on Monday we won't be having class. So that is the reason I am thinking of taking class tomorrow. Tomorrow from 8 to 9. Is it okay for everyone if I take class tomorrow from 8 to 9?
Sorry, sister, I have some other suggestions, so I can't.
Yeah, for me,
So,
It's okay, no problem. We can continue from Tuesday onwards. Even if we do have, we will also get some time to practice, right?
yeah. So if you think that so whenever if I take any holiday on Monday or someday, what will I do is, so before itself I'll try to cover by taking 1.5 hour class or taking class on Saturdays or Sunday, so that we will be completing the course on time.
Yeah, that is a good idea. If you take some
Yeah.
extra time in the class, that okay.
Yes, yes, definitely. That is what I'll do. If in case if I want to take any holidays or so, I'll be informing you guys at least 3 4 days before, so that even you guys can plan anything. And also before that itself we'll be taking the classes. So even after that holiday or before that holiday, we'll be taking few like a half an hour more before days, so that we'll be able to cover the syllabus at the same time which we sort of covered. So we have seen practically like where are this integration runtimes present. So if someone asks you where is this integration runtime present, it is present under the monitor tab, and also you can check this integration runtime under this manage. So basically, when you will go for this monitor is, so if you want to check whether whether all your integration runtimes are up and running. So if you want to monitor your integration runtimes, then you will come to this monitor tab and check from here. So that is the reason you won't be able to see any create option here. So if at all you want to create any integration runtime, you can't create the integration runtime from this integration runtime only. So whatever are present under this monitor tab, you will just able to monitor from here. So from this integration runtimes, I'll be able to monitor all my integration runtimes. I won't be able to create my integration runtimes from here. So if at all you want to create any integration runtime, you should come to this manage tab. So once you click on this manage icon, then here under the integration runtimes, you will be able to see this new. So if at all you want to create an integration runtimes, you should come under this manage tab. So if you want to monitor your integration runtimes, then you will come to this monitor. You will click on this monitor icon and come here. Okay. So if someone asks you from where you monitor this integration runtimes, you can tell them that in monitor we'll be having under runtimes and sessions, we'll be having integration runtimes. From there I'll see whether all my integration runtimes are up and running fine. So yeah, now let me share this Word document. We'll see the definitions.
Shishira, one more thing. Can we create a WhatsApp group to communicate, like to ask questions and all? Is that fine, you people? Or
I think already we have the WhatsApp group, right?
oh, I don't know that one actually.
So you can
So is
ask the
that
Visualpath team. Yeah, they'll share you. They'll
okay?
add you. Yeah. Hmm. So Ravi Varma, both Ravi Varmas are same, huh?
Yeah,
We
both
have.
are same. Yeah, I mean, like to communicate with you, I think my mic isn't
Oh,
working on my laptop. I guess so. That's why to
oh,
communicate with you, I'm using this phone.
okay. Okay. Hmm. Yeah, this word. Hmm. So we have seen like in the Azure Data Factory portal, we have seen where this integration runtime. So where is this integration? If you want to create an integration runtime, where should you go?
Manage.
Yes, you should go to manage and there you should create. So as we have discussed, integration runtime is the compute infrastructure used by the Azure Data Factory to connect to different networks. Different networks in the sense different clouds or any networks, and perform the data movement and execute the activities. So this Azure integration runtime will be helping us in the data movements and also for executing the activities. And coming to these three types of integration runtimes, we have seen this auto resolve integration runtime. This will be automatically created by Azure to us when we create this Azure Data Factory. And the self-hosted integration runtime, I have explained you there. So whenever you want to move the data from on-premises or any virtual private network, we will go to this self-hosted integration runtime. So if you want to move anything from on-premises or virtual networks, what you'll do, we need to set up manually. Here, what Azure is setuping us. So once you create the Azure Data Factory, Azure itself is setuping us this integration runtime. Whereas coming to the self-hosted integration runtime, we need to set up this manually. And this integration, when to use this integration runtime, this is used to connect on-premises
Shishira,
to virtual.
One question here. So suppose in my case, if I want to move the data from on premises to cloud, my destination is cloud. So which
Yes,
integration service I have to use?
you guess it from what I've told you.
Self-hosted.
So why? Because actually, see, the Azure one is for cloud to cloud, and the self
Yes,
integration from on premises to other networks, right?
cloud.
So,
Yeah.
oh,
So
this one
if
will
you
be on
want,
premises to cloud.
yeah, that is what I'm
Okay,
telling now.
okay.
So when you want to move your data from on-premises or any virtual private network to cloud, you will be downloading the self-hosted integration runtime on
Okay, got it.
that system. So if at all I want to move the data which is present on my desktop to cloud, then I will be downloading this self-hosted integration runtime on my desktop. Self-hosted integration runtime is a software. So I'll tell you all those things. One day we'll do this lab. So yeah. So whenever you want to move your data from on-premises or any virtual private network to cloud, you will be using this self-hosted integration runtime. Is it clear now? So if you want to move the data between the clouds, you will be using this Azure or Auto
Yeah.
Resolve integration runtime. If you want to move your data from on-premises or any virtual private network to cloud, then you will be using this self-hosted integration runtime.
Yes, got it, got it. Thanks.
So this is cloud to cloud. This is on-premises or virtual private. To precisely it's Azure cloud. Okay, then coming to this SSIS, I have discussed when I was showing you in that portal. So what is this SSIS integration runtime is? So I have told you, since SSIS is also Microsoft's product, they have given a feature for us wherein we can directly lift and shift those on-premises SSIS packages into Azure Data Factory and run those SSIS packages. To run those SSIS packages, we'll be using this SSIS integration runtime. So, okay, all these integration runtimes and this integration runtime concept is clear. Definitely, you will get a question in your interview. You'll be asked on this concept. So, is this clear for everyone?
Yes,
Shall we
thank you.
move to?
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So now let's move to the next concept. So
Uh,
before we start
yeah, one.
doing practicals in Azure Data Factory, I would like to cover all this basics. So it will be, so from then onwards we can, yeah, someone.
No, no. That by using the self-service, right? Can you go to the previous?
What?
Can you go to the previous one? Previous.
Yeah.
The second service is used only for the data in like a text file or something, or I can connect to another like a third part Oracle or some other data
Yeah. You can even connect to databases also. So any
using
systems
the
data.
hosted integration, right? I mean using the self.
Yeah. So if at all you have your data in your machine, in some any of the databases like Oracle or MySQL or anything, so you can move anything. You can move your text files, CSV, any files, and also the data present in databases also using this self-hosted integration runtime.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, fine.
Yeah. So let's go to the next topic now. So what is this Azure Data Lake? So previously we have discussed like when to use. So when our destination is data lake, which concept we are using? Is it ELT or ETL?
ELT.
Yeah. So data lake is a concept. It's not a tool. So data lake is a concept. So Azure's data lake is named as Azure Data Lake. Okay. So HDFS is also a data lake. So what is Amazon's data lake?
Is it
S3
S3?
buckets maybe.
S3 or EC2?
S3. S3 is the Amazon's one. So coming to Azure's data, so I have told you data lake is a concept. So what is Azure's? What is Microsoft's data lake? Is this Azure Data Lake is the Azure's product or Microsoft's product. So data lake implementation of Azure is Azure Data Lake. So it is a kind of storage like blob storage. Azure Data Lake is also a kind of storage. So coming to this Azure Data Lake. What is this Azure Data Lake is? Azure Data Lake is a repository to store any kind of data and any volumes of data in the native format. So we have discussed why we are going for data lake instead of a data warehouse. Why? We can keep all the data in the native format. So we need not process the data before keeping it, before storing it. So if you do not want to process the data before storing it, we'll go with this data lake concept. So here, that is how it is defined. What is this Azure Data Lake? It is a repository to store any kind of data. Any kind of data in the sense you can store structured, unstructured, and semi-structured data. Any kind of data you'll be able to store in this Azure Data Lake, and volumes of data. Coming to volumes of data, any volumes of data, any huge volumes of data. So volumes of data in the sense basically when you have, yeah, data is huge, that is big data, then you will be using this Azure Data Lake. So it has enormous processing power and ability to handle large size. So when you, so that is the reason I have told you, when you are dealing with huge amount of data, that is when you are dealing with big data, you will be using this Azure Data Lake. So someone if,
Shishra,
yeah.
uh, actually, this Azure Data Lake and Blob Storage both can, I mean, both have a capability of handling big data, right?
No. So Blob is not able to handle big data. We have also, so yeah, I've written like the differences between Blob and Data Lake. I'll, yeah, I'll explain you. when to
Okay.
go with blob and when to go with this Azure Data Lake. So yeah, so we have defined this Azure Data Lake. What is this Azure Data Lake? It is a repository which is able to store data of any kind and any volume of data in its native format. That is, we need not process the data before dumping it into the Azure Data Lake. So it also has the processing power and the ability to handle large size of data. And yeah, as I have told you, it can store structured, semi-structured, and unstructured data without defining any schema at the time of loading the data into data lake. That is what I have told you, that we need not process the data. It is not mandatory for us to process the data before keeping it into the Azure Data Lake. You can just keep the data in the raw format. So in its native format only, you can directly get the data and dump it into the Azure Data Lake. You need not define any schema before dumping the data into the data lake. You only need to define the schema when you are using it. So if you want to use that file, you'll just define schema on that file and then you'll be using it. So why, when to use this Azure Data Lake is, it is suitable for storing and performing big data. So I've told you, when you are dealing with huge amount of data, instead of blob storage, you should use this Azure Data Lake storage. So when you are not dealing with if you are dealing with only small data, then you can go for the blob storage. I will again explain you when we are comparing the differences. So why is, so one of the differences is, it the data lake has designed on the top of Azure, this Hadoop distributed file system. So so what happens is, in this Hadoop concept is, in Hadoop distributed file system is, whatever you store, it gets divided and stored. So it is not only on the one system you are going to store the data. You will be storing the data in the multiple systems. That is, you will be having many systems at the back end. So how will this Azure Data Lake architecture will be is, on the back end, there will be many systems on which your data gets divided and stored. So there is a software called as Hadoop, which integrates all those systems. So logically, you will be seeing it as only that your data is present in the single system. You won't be aware that your data is getting divided and stored in multiple systems. But physically, what happens is, your data gets divided and it gets stored in multiple systems. So that is this concept of data lake. So that is the reason big data analytics. So when you are so you can't store all your entire data in a single system. So again, yeah, you can also store all your data in the single system if your server size is more. But the thing is, if you want your processing to be fast, what you will do, you will use, instead of a single server, we have seen that virtualization concept, wherein what we are doing, we are creating multiple servers. And also, in Hadoop, what happens is, in virtualization, we are having single server, but we are logically dividing multiple systems. But in this Hadoop concept, physically we'll be having many systems. So why is, the processing will be fast. So when multiple systems are performing your operations, the processing speed will be more. So that is the reason this will be used when you are dealing with big data analytics, that is large huge volumes of data. Then you will go with this Azure Data Lake instead of blob storage. Okay, so if someone asks you what is data lake, you can keep all these points. So that is the reason I'm reading all these points, so can I can inculcate all these points in your brain. So is it clear for all of you?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Is it clear that, yeah. So coming to versions of data lake, so we have two versions of data lake. So mostly now, this is the old version. We are using, in all the projects we'll be using this data lake gen 2, which is the second version. So coming to this gen 1, no one will be asking you. It's just the thing, just to make you aware that there used to be the other version, which is gen 1. I have given you here. So let's just go through these points. Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 1. It is an enterprise wide hyperscale repository for big data analytics workload. So I have told you like when to go with this Azure Data Lake Storage when you are dealing with big data analytic workloads. And Azure Data Lake enables you to capture data of any size, type. So this is the same definition which we have seen here. Yeah, Azure Data Lake Gen 1 is an Apache Hadoop file system that is compatible with Hadoop distributor. So this data lake, this data lake concept in the backend will be using this Hadoop ecosystem architecture. So coming to this data lake Gen 1 storage, which is present on Azure, it is compatible with Azure Hadoop distributed file system. So what is this Gen 2 is? This is the one which we are using. So this Azure Data Lake Gen 2 is the set of capabilities dedicated. So same thing, same definition. So how they have created this Azure Data Lake storage is Gen 2 is it is they have taken all the best features from the blob storage and the best features from they have just added all the best features from blob storage to this Azure Data Lake storage. So that is how they designed this Data Lake storage Gen 2. So just to remember, there are two versions of data lake. We are using this, we'll be using this Azure Data Lake Gen 2 storage, and all the features of best features of blob storage they have combined with the data lake storage Gen 1, and they have introduced us this data lake storage Gen 2. And coming to this difference, someone have asked me like why to go with data lake storage even after having this blob storage. So this blob is like general purpose storage. That is I have told you. So if you have only less amount of data, you're not dealing with huge volumes of data, then you will go with this blob storage. But why? Because so it is general purpose. Why are you not going to this? Because at the back end, it is not. See this distributed framework is not present for this blob storage, so that is why this
Uh,
will be slow if you go if you use big data here in the blob storage. Your processing speed will be slow because the distributor it's not a distributed framework, whereas coming to this data lake it is a distributed framework. So that is the reason if you go with the Azure Data Lake storage, the speed will be fast. So that is the reason they have given us it is an optimized storage for big data analytics purpose. So someone is asking something.
yeah, ask me. Actually, what is the capacity for I mean, up to how much capacity files we can use for Azure Blob Storage?
So any it's not like see um so
Like big,
in the Azure, yeah.
okay. Yeah, tell me. Like if like 1 GB file, 2 GB file, if more than that it will go automatically it will comes under big data, right? Then up to how much of memory files we can use it for blob storage? Normally we're using Excel file with consist of MB files and MB
Hmm.
files around nearby 1 GB files we can use it into blob storage. Like that, any
See fine.
limit for these blobs?
Yeah, yeah, there is no limitation, like you can also store. See, but what happens if you are using so many files and each file is having huge amount of data? Then what
Okay.
happens is if you keep all those files in blob storage and you perform your operations, then the processing speed will be low because at the back end it's not using this distributed file system concept. So whereas in the Azure Data Lake the distributed architecture is being used, so that is the reason you'll go with this data lake. There is nothing
Yeah, got
limitation,
you.
there is no limitation on the size of the data you can go with. But if you want your processing speed to be, if processing
Okay.
speed is more, I mean if your requirement is regarding the processing speed,
Then
so
I will
this
go
is
for the
optimized for doing that thing. So that is the reason you'll go with this. So
Srisha, one
these are
general
all.
question.
Yeah.
Okay. Actually, one general question. Up to what is the limit, starting limit of big data? Is there any, like a fixed starting limit, like 10 GB, 100 GB, like that? Is there any fixed starting limit for big data? I know it's a general question I'm asking.
Uh,
Yes. Like
Nothing
100
like
M,
that.
100 GB or a 1 TB like that.
Mm, so actually, even I'm not like much confident about that thing, but definitely I'll work on it and tell you tomorrow. Like, yeah,
Okay, sure.
yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Then coming to the other, I'll tell you. I'll work on it and tell you tomorrow. Purushottam, is it Purushottam?
Yeah, it's me, Purushottam.
Yeah, Purushottam. Yeah, I'll tell you
Yeah, okay.
tomorrow, Purushottam. Yes.
Okay, sure.
So it's a nice question. Yeah, it's also a learning for me. Then yeah, the other difference here is object based model with the containers. So yesterday when we have cleared, yeah, I'll show you in practical this difference. What is this object based model with container and hierarchical namespace model? So yeah, this blob I have told you that it is not compatible with Hadoop. So we are not having this distributed architecture in blob storage. That is the reason when we are dealing with big data, we'll go with this Azure Data Lake Storage since it's compatible with this Hadoop. uh, and data access can be done using access keys and shared access signatures. This also I'll be showing you. So how to access blob storages using keys. You can either use the keys or shared access signatures to establish the connection to the blob storage. That is, if you want to access the blob storage using these keys and shared access signature, you'll establish the connection and then use it. So coming to this Azure Data, the data access can be done to Azure Active Directory authentication. So Azure Active Directory, it is again another service. Yeah, we'll be discussing this. So of course, this costs less and this is expensive. Okay. So basically, the key point to remember is when going with big data analytic workloads, you will go with this Azure Data Lake Storage. Um, So why is because it's not compatible. Blob is not compatible with Hadoop. That is the distributed architecture concept is not present in blob storage, whereas this distributed architecture concept is present in this Azure Data Lake storage. Yeah. So 1 second. Yeah, I'm sharing this. So you guys able to see my screen?
Yes.
Where is this? Yeah, storage. So let's create a storage account and define the difference between how you will be creating a blob storage and how you will be creating this data lake storage gen 2. So first you'll create a storage account. So today the class is till 9:30 since yesterday it was a holiday. So storage account name.
Right, you know. Yeah. How is it going?
Can you mute yourself, someone?
What incident? The one Suresh gave you the other day. I gave you the
Ravi,
other day,
you
and I
have to
tried like
mute yourself.
okay, okay. Did you find anything about the root cause?
Yeah, muted him. Mm. So difference between standard and premium I have told you. Did anyone remember it? So what is standard and premium? So the standard, when you choose your performance as standard, the data will be stored in hard disk drives, and when you choose your performance to be premium, it gets stored in solid state drive. So when you go for premium, um, your performance will be high, and of course the cost will also be high. So the only difference, so what is, how will you create a blob storage and how will you create this data lake storage gen 2 is, this is the only difference. Under the advanced, you will be having this. See, we can see it, the heading as the data lake storage gen 2. Under the advanced panel, here in the advanced setting, you will be able to see this Azure data lake storage gen 2. So data lake gen 2 is hierarchical namespace that accelerates big data analytic workloads and enables file level access and control lists. So what do you mean by this hierarchical namespaces? We'll see it. So for now, first let's create a blob storage. Since I'm creating a blob storage, I'm not doing um, any changes here. So I'm not checking this box. So whenever you come to this review, what happens is they'll run a final validation. So once everything turns up to be fine, then you will be enabled. This create button gets enabled.
You are creating this service account and storage account now, right?
Yes.
Sisira? Okay.
So during you, whenever you're creating the storage account, so during its creation itself, you will be giving those all settings. So which one you want to create? Is it a blob or
Okay. Mhm.
it's a blob storage or the data lake storage?
Okay. Do
So
we
it,
need one storage account for each type, like one for blob and one for data lake as well, or
yeah,
one is
see
okay
here,
for both?
yes, data lake it's different. So if you want to create another data lake, see, I won't be able, since I have created a blob storage, now I won't be able to see the data lake option here. So if at all I want to have the data lake, I need to create the other storage account now. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here the thing we need to notice is hierarchical namespace is disabled. So that is the thing. So when you go with the Azure data lake storage gen 2, then this hierarchical namespace will be enabled for us. Okay. Yeah, where Yeah, so we are coming to containers. So what is a container?
Container is like a folder.
Yes. So let's try to upload one. Yeah, we have uploaded a file here. So we can see that the tire is hot access tire. So if at all, so after observing that you want to, you have seen, so we have also seen like when to keep the data in hot tire, and when to keep the data in cold tire, and when to keep the data in archive tire. So most frequently accessed data, in which tire will you keep it? The most frequently accessed data.
In the hard tire only.
Okay.
Yes. So if you find the data to be infrequently accessed, only frequently infrequently you're accessing it. So in which tire will you keep it?
Cold. Cold.
Yeah. So you have seen it for 180 days and you found that you're not accessing that file even after that 180 days. So then you will be moving that file into archive tire.
This one actually, while we are uploading the file, we have to choose it.
Yes. So
Okay.
see, once we have uploaded, what if at all you want to change the tire, you can come here. You can double click on this. This will get open. So here you have an option to change the tires. Okay,
Yeah,
these
yeah,
are the
got
tires
it.
we have
Oh,
seen
okay.
about. So default it got direct by default it is choosing this hot. So if at all you want to move this to any one of their tires, you can move it. So the other thing which I have told you while discussing about the blob storage then is that, so whenever you create, whenever you upload something into the blob storage, a URL gets created for it. So directly instead of sharing that file, you can directly use this URL and you can share it. So once you open this URL, you will be able to see and access it. And yeah, so so what is happening in our file system? For example, if you take our desktop, when we open a file, that file explorer, what are we able to do in a file explorer? What we'll do, we'll create a folder, and inside the folder we'll keep all the files. For example, now what is my task is, it's like I want to segregate all the data under, first I want to segregate my data under year. So after year, inside the year folder, I want to have subfolders called as months, and inside those months subfolder, I want to have dates as my subfolders. So here what is my requirement? My requirement is to also have the subfolders, folder inside a folder. So now what I have done, we have just created one folder. This is blob one. So now I want to create the subfolder. So do, are you able to see any option to create another container here? No, no. So we are just able to see only one option, that is upload. So what we should infer from here is, so when coming to blob storage, we will not be able to create any subfolders. So if your requirement is to create subfolders, so you can't go with blob storage. In blob storage, you won't be able to create the subfolders. You will be only able to create the only folders. So here you can create another container. So okay, one container after another container. Your see, but if you want to create a container inside one container, you can't. So here you won't be able to see any container options. You will be just able to see this upload option, where you can upload your data within the container. Okay. So this is the one difference between the blob storage and the data lake storage. You won't be able to create any subfolders. In case of data lake storage, you will be able to do so. Now let's create the data lake storage and then show you. So what is the thing I have told you to be changed when you are creating the Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2?
Hierarchical namespace enable.
Yes, enable the hierarchy. So this is the one we should check. We should check this checkbox. So here our resource got created. Yeah. So here I want to show you the difference. See, here I have created the data lake storage. So you are having a separate storage account for data lake storage. Yeah, you should create a separate account if you want to use blob and data lake storage can't be present in the same storage account. You should create the different storage account for them. So this is the first storage account and its data lake storage is created. So here if you see the differences, hierarchical namespace is enabled here. So this is a data lake storage. That is the reason this hierarchical namespace is enabled. So coming to this blob service, since it's a blob service, the hierarchical namespace here is disabled. So there is an option for you. So if you want to upgrade your blob to data lake storage gen 2, you can click on it and upgrade to storage account with data lake gen 2. So if at all, if some projects they have already dumped their data to blob storage and now they want to upgrade to the data lake storage gen 2, they can click on this option, and then these are all the steps that need to be done to upgrade to the data lake storage gen 2. So now, yeah. So here also same concept, containers only. The interface will be same like blob storage only. Here also containers and here also containers. See, here we have created blobs. Let's create so here the logs, this file will be this container will be automatically created whenever you create any storage account. This will basically use it to store all your logs, so whatever operations you perform, everything gets stored there. Yeah. See here the difference. I have opened the data lake container and here I have opened the blob container. So here you are able to see only the upload option. That means inside a container you can only upload the files. But here you are able to see, that is you can upload your files and add directly. That is you will be able to create the subdirectories also. For example, I have created. So inside So inside the one which I've created, I would like to create a year. So year folder, I have created an year folder in layman terms. In Azure terms, it's a directory. So here I have created. So now inside the year folder, I want to create some other folders called as months. Now I can add Jan. See, now I'm able to create the subfolders also. This is possible in case of which blob or Azure Data Lake Storage.
Data lake.
Data lake.
Yeah. So Data Lake, you will be able to create the subfolders. So here I can upload my data also. You will be able to upload, as well as you can also be able to create your subfolders. So this is the meaning of hierarchical namespace. So here you are able to create a hierarchy, subfolder, parent folder, child folder, another child folder. Here a hierarchy is getting created. That is what the hierarchical namespace. The meaning of hierarchical namespace. That is the meaning of hierarchical namespace. Okay, is the difference clear to you? So is the difference clear?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Good. Yeah, we are very curious to go practical, Siri Sisira. It's very nice.
Yeah, 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 yeah. We'll
One,
be starting.
one
Yes,
question on here, Sisira.
yes.
Everything is clear except, I mean, like it's a general question. If someone asks you a question saying like we got this much amount of storage and we want to use this storage for XYZ purpose, which storage do you choose, blob or data lake storage? Depending on, say, for example, if it's a 2 terabyte or 3 terabyte files or something, some JSON files, for example. I mean, like the reason I want to ask is like, what is the limit up for blob storage? How much up to the maximum limit we can go? Um,
See, there is no, as I've told you, all the storages are present on cloud. So there will be no limit on the storage which is provided by you by either blob storage or the Azure Data Lake storage. And one more thing you have asked me, like when to go with this big data. So here a data is said to be a big data if it has all this 5 V's concept. So in big data we have concept of 5 V's: veracity, variety, veracity, value, variety, volume, all this. So you know this big data concept. So five
yes,
V's
yeah.
of big data. So
Hmm.
if the data qualifies all these features 5 V's, then you consider that data to be big data and you go with the Azure Data Lake storage. So here if your file is like 5 TB, you have told that 1 TB or 2 TB. So in such cases, it's better if you go with the Azure Data Lake storage. Why? Because you want the processing to be fast. So when can your processing speed be fast? When you have the concept of distributed computing.
Okay.
So this distributed architecture is present in Blob or Azure Data Lake.
Data lake.
Yeah. So is it clear
Okay.
now?
Yeah,
So that question also is it clear? So how
that
to
makes sense.
define a
Yeah,
data, data is, so if your data qualifies all the 5 V's, then you consider the data to be big data.
and use the data
So
lake.
there is no limitation on the size of the data.
Okay.
So
Okay.
sometimes even if your data is huge and you won't have all these 5 V's features, then you won't consider it to be a big data. So it's not only the size which defines the data to be a big data. These are all the features which you need to consider to define that the data is a big data.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so we have seen on practicals like what is the difference between this Azure Data Lake storage and blob storage, and so which is the data lake storage version which we are using now?
Then to
Gen 2, Gen 1,
Yeah,
I think. Oh,
general
yeah.
purpose
Visual.
Gen
V2.
2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how is this Gen 2 created? It and all the features of Gen 1 they have
Plus
added to the best.
advanced blob
They have picked the best features from the blob storage and
together. Yeah.
combined those both, and then gave us this general purpose V2 version 2. Yeah, now let's see. So yeah, you guys able to see my screen?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, so once we cover all these things, we'll be good to start with the most awaited practicals. So are you guys good with this data warehousing concepts? So are all of you guys good with data warehousing concepts?
No, not me.
no
Thank you.
for here.
So Ravi Varma, on what things are you working on?
Um, I work
You're
on
working.
DBA, SQL DBA and SQL development, MSBI, basically.
Oh, okay, okay.
I'm fine with that actually. So,
Oh,
do you want to put that session in this one only? Actually, you can take that separate them. Some things like SQL and this data warehousing concept, you can take separate class also.
if all know those concepts, then it's not necessary for us to take. No, so that is why I just want to confirm. Um, to all of you know those data warehouse concepts are we will take a session on it if not so I think it will be good if I take on a session on it. Yeah, what about others?
So,
Midun,
I'm good with
Purushot,
it. Actually, I'm working on Teradata and the ETL concept, ETL thing only. So, I'm good with it.
what about Purushottam?
Another
Actually, I'm a Power BI guy. I know ETL from Power BI, Power Queries, but not about this data warehouse, all the things.
yeah, better you
Ashish,
teach better.
I am also
So
data
okay,
analyst.
so okay, then we'll
Yeah,
take what about Sir and Mike?
yeah, I am
TB.
also. Uh, I,
Yeah, Sudhakar, TV, Mike.
yeah, I am also a SQL developer only. No idea for web
Oh,
data warehouse.
yeah, okay, TB, who is this TB? Mike, what about you? Mike and Midun. Mike, Midun, TB.
Yeah, she's right. I'm on data analytics side, main on financing data, but SQL,
So okay,
SSIS,
then
not
we'll
really.
take. Yeah, okay. I think so. Whoever know it will be a brush up kind of you. Yeah. So whoever knows these concepts, it will be a brush up for them. For others, they'll be learning. So someday uh, we'll be taking that mm, half session, around half session. We'll be taking on it or a one session.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
fine.
So you guys able to see my screen now?
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
yes.
So let's see like security in Azure account. So there are three ways in which it provides you security, and if at all if you want to access this storage accounts, so how will we access? There are three ways in which we can access. The first way is using this access keys. So under security and networking, you'll be having this access key. So whenever you create a storage account, it will automatically generate you a 512-bit access keys. So you'll be getting two access keys. You can either use this and this, any one of them you can use among the two access keys, and there is option for you to rotate this access keys. So what is this rotation of access keys? Whenever you click on this rotate access key, a new key gets generated for you. So if we work in an organization, they'll ask us to change our password every 75 days like that. So why? Due to some security concerns. So in the same way, you can change your keys due to any security concern. You can just rotate those keys. Then whenever you rotate a key, a new key gets generated, and you can use them. So coming to the other one, this is the access keys, and the other one is role based RBAC. RBAC stands for role based access control. So based upon the role, you will be granted the access. So why do we use, and when you will use this role based access control is, so for example, um, a contributor or a developer. So developer, it is okay if he has few access. So few developers need read access, few developers need write access, and few read other access. So based upon the role, the access will be given. If he is a developer, few accesses will be given, and if he is a contributor, few accesses will be given. So they are predefined roles which Azure Data Factory will be provided for us. So there'll be few roles like contributor, owner, and those roles. So based upon those roles, this access will be granted to them. We'll be seeing them in practical. Uh,
Sisira, one question
oh,
here before
yeah,
moving forward.
yeah,
So, like, you are saying some access keys will be there, right? So, to
yes.
access that storage account, that container, so the
Hmm.
linked service will, in the linked service, we have to keep this access or these keys.
Yes,
The
yes,
linked
yes,
service.
exactly. Yeah. So this key or a connection string. So we know connection string, no
Okay.
same concept. Yeah. Keys are also like connection strings only.
So this one only we have to
So
keep
in
in the linked
connection
service so that
string,
it will access. Okay.
yeah, yeah. In connection string, you'll be having the detailed information. Like this is my container, this is this in words
Okay.
which are human readable. But when you take key will be a 512-bit. So you'll be having some numbers or alphanumerical things. So here you won't be, it's not in human readable format. Whereas in connection string, it's same as a connection string which we use, which will contain all the username, password, container name, storage account name, and all those.
Okay. Got it. Okay.
So role based access control is based upon the role you'll be given access. So it's already 9:30. No, what we'll do is we'll just take theoretical thing, and we'll complete tomorrow. I'll show you the practical thing of this. So tomorrow, you guys told you are not okay with the class tomorrow. No, is it okay? Shall we take class tomorrow from 8 to 9, 1 hour?
Yes, for me, fine.
Raise your hands if you are okay with it. Whoever are okay with tomorrow class, raise your hand. So we'll be going with the majority.
You got equal.
Equal. So guys, you can join now tomorrow. Anyways, Monday I'll be.
Instead, like Sisira,
Yeah,
50-50 chances, right? So why can't we take data warehousing concept tomorrow?
yeah, that's a great one. Yes, that's the thing I'll do tomorrow then. Yeah,
if
nice idea. Yes, I'll be covering that data warehousing concepts tomorrow, so that whoever uh, don't know those concepts, they can just go through the video, and
yeah,
mostly it will be a theory class. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. Nice idea, Ravi.
Thank you.
Yeah. For today, just we'll cover this theoretical concept related to the security regarding the storage account. So there are three. First one is access keys. The second one is role-based access control. And here, way to access this role-based access control is how will you be able to give this access control based upon roles is you should come to this under IAM. IAM stands for Identity and Access Management. So you should come. You should click on this IAM, then you will be this gets open. So from here, if you click on this, it will show you like whatever accesses you are having, and if at all you want to assign something, you can assign. I'll be showing all these things in practical. So next thing is shared access signature. So if your requirement is in such a way that, so in our storage accounts we'll be having blobs, files, and queues, but you want to share only the blobs which are present in this storage account. Then what you can do is you can only give access only to that particular blob using the shared access signature. And also you just want to give only read permission, then you can select only this read permission and give. So this kind of flexibility will be given to us when we are using the shared access signature. Shared access signature is the one which gives us the flexibility in terms of giving access. Okay. So the shared access signature is a URI that grants restricted access rights to the Azure storage accounts. So if you want to grant any restricted accesses, then you can. So you can select for which you want to give the access, and whatever the permissions you want to give, and then once you fill all these options, you will generate a URL. So you can share that URL with that particular person. You can provide a shared access signature to the clients who should not be trusted. So if at all you have some untrusted person whom you want to share, and you want to give only read access, then you can make all those things, make all those settings here in the shared access signature, and then you can create a URL and then share that URL. So the advantage here is you'll be providing access only to the particular resources. That is, you can either provide access to one among them, files, blobs, or queues, or tables, only one, or any your wish, and also providing a specific role. And also you can also specify like how much time do you want to give them access, and also if you can also give access to only a particular IP address also using the shared access signature. Okay, so these are all the three ways on which you can provide security to your Azure data account. So in linked service, as someone has told, yeah, when you are using those linked service, you will be giving these keys in that linked service. Okay, any doubts? So today we are done for the session. Practical we'll be seeing on. So see guys, tomorrow we are having class for 1 hour, and that 1 hour we will be seeing the data warehousing concepts.
Yeah, I got question on the ones on the screen.
1 second.
Yeah, about the keys. I mean,
Yeah, 1 second. I'm typing a message so that tomorrow.
yeah, sure. Thank you.
Yeah, Ravi, you can ask your question.
Yeah, we have two sets of keys, right? What is the purpose of two sets of keys? Is there any technical reason behind that one?
Nothing. You can just use. They have given us just those two. You can choose among one among those. Not no any particular reason.
Okay.
Nothing any. Yeah.
Yeah. Another one on the same thing. We got the rotate key option, right? Say, for example,
Yes.
if in any of the linked service in a data factory we used this key and someone has rotated the key 10 days later, send
Yeah.
then
Then
does
you
the
won't be able to use it. You should change the
oh,
key there also.
okay.
So that is the
So
reason. So
mhm.
yeah. So here what is happening? This key will be used in multiple pipelines now. So you can't go back to each pipeline and change the key, right?
Yes, yeah,
So from there only for that reason we have other concept called as this key vault, wherein
okay,
we will be giving a name we'll be maintaining key value pairs there. So for this key we will be giving a name. So this is blob storage. So blob storage key, and you'll be storing this key. You'll be assigning this key value to that. These are best
key.
like key value
Okay,
pairs. Yeah, you'll be
okay, okay,
assigning the key value to that key, so that you'll be using that in those all the pipelines which you have created. So
okay,
you directly won't copy this key and keep it in this pipeline.
okay.
You will
Fair
be
enough.
using the concept of key vault, where you will be maintaining key value pairs. So from that you will be using those keys. So if you rotate a key here and the key gets changed, what you can do is you can directly open that key vault, and you can keep the key there. You can change the key value there in the key vault. So if you change the key value there, it will be reflected in all of your pipelines. So you need not go to each pipeline and change this key value.
Okay, okay. That's
Yeah. Yeah. Any more?
yeah. If anyone got no questions, then I would like to ask some questions on the previous class I missed.
Yes. Any one of you? Any questions? Anyone? So if anyone are not having any questions, they can leave the class. So Ravi, you can go ahead with your question.
Yeah. I missed the class 6 Azure Data Factory introduction one, but I have been through the video. Uh,
Okay.
you said in there like Azure Data Factory is an integration tool within the Azure. Then what is the difference, major difference regarding the performance wise from SSIS to Azure Data Factory? Is there anything that we can't do in the Data Factory, or what is the actual major difference regarding the performance wise?
The main difference between SSIS and uh,
Data
ADF
Factory.
is, yes, the main difference you can only tell.
It's obviously ADF is used on the Azure tool, which is used
Yeah,
to
it's on a
extract the
cloud too.
data from cloud to on-premise, etc. Whereas SSIS is only for on-premise to on-premise, maybe somewhere.
Yeah.
Um,
And one more thing, will you be able to do operations on big data? Will you be able to operate on big data using this SSIS? No, it's a
no.
traditional ETL tool. So that is where, yeah, the difference comes. So it's a big data. If you want to deal with the big data, you can't do a deal with this SSIS.
Okay. Yeah.
And
Um,
also streaming. If you want to deal with streaming data, you can't deal that
mhm.
streaming data with SSIS.
Okay. Okay.
And also, since this exercise it's the traditional ETL, you can also can't deal with the structure unstructured data,
Correct. Yeah. Okay.
right?
Yeah.
So yeah,
Data lake.
these are
Yeah. Another one. Data lake is used for storing any kind of data, right? Then,
yes.
what are the differences? Like, if we want to use, what is this Synapse is also like a storage account, right? Storage kind of thing.
Mm,
What are the possibilities? When do we go for Synapse? And obviously, data lake you explained very well today. But when can we go for Synapse? I know Synapse is expensive compared to data lake,
yeah.
but when can we go for Synapse or an SQL database?
See, the thing here is, as you know, Synapse it's a data warehouse. So when it's a data warehouse, what's the difference between the data warehouse and data lake?
Data lake is structured versus unstructured. Data warehouse is like um, you got structured data stored in
Yeah,
warehousing format, maybe like in a steps of facts or dimensions, etc., etc. Maybe in data sets, for example.
yeah. So yeah, that is when if you are and also when you will be going with this Synapse and data lake is that. So if you are using the Azure Synapse Analytics, so Azure Synapse Analytics is just like an umbrella which has all this. So instead of maintaining Azure Data Factory for ingestion and data lake for doing all transformations and another visualization tool for doing visualizations. So if you directly use Azure Synapse Analytics, it's a one-stop solution for you where you have all these features enabled in that. But as you have told, it's a costly affair.
Excellent. Okay. Okay.
So the main difference to be kept in mind is that structured and yeah,
Structured versus
unstructured.
unstructured.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. One more on today's class. You said like this integration runtime, the third one, Azure SSIS integration runtime. So this is used to extract or run the
Exercise
just a
packages
simple
on
one.
Azure.
SSIS packages on Azure, or say for example, if I have created an SSIS package that is extracting the data from CSV files into an on-premise environment. So you mean
Hmm.
to say I can run that package on Azure, or I can convert that package into ADF using this integration runtime?
You can run that package. So when you're
Just run
running
that
that
package.
package, yes,
Okay.
you can directly run that package without doing anything. So you can for running that package, you will be using this exercise integration runtime. So lift and
Okay.
shift
Okay.
those packages also you can use this, and also to run. See, without making anything, you can directly run your packages. Since why they have made this feature available is since exercise is also a Microsoft product, no?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So and
And mhm.
one more thing here is like why people are moving to Azure than choosing other clouds is this is the reason. See, since Azure is Microsoft's product and since most of the projects in some or the other way they'll be using few Microsoft licenses, no? So
Yes.
here Microsoft have given them a feature wherein they can bring their licenses to the cloud. So if you have already have the few product Microsoft product licenses available with you, you need not pay the license cost for the tools which you are using on Azure cloud.
Okay. Fair
Yeah.
enough.
Did you get it?
Okay.
So if you are
Yes, I got it.
if you have a product for which you have the license, you have bought a license from Microsoft already, and the same product now you want to launch it in cloud. So since you already have this Microsoft license, they won't cost. You can give them this. You can tell them that have already bought this license. So what will they do is they won't cost you this license cost.
Okay,
They
okay,
won't
fair
be
enough.
cost you for the usage. Yeah. So
Oh,
the cost will reduce. The licensing cost they won't cost you.
okay, okay. Um, just one more, one last one. This
Oh yeah.
self-hosted
Hmm.
one, self-hosted integration runtime. Do we need to install, say, for example, if you have connectivity to 10 servers, for example, so do we need to install this uh, self-hosted on all 10 servers, or maybe
Yes.
say
So
say for
on
example
what
10
all
users
are.
are okay.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Tell your question. Complete your question.
Well, in the other way, like if 10 users are using connecting to, for example, one subscription, and do the 10 users on their PCs should be having this self-hosted one or self-hosted IR, or can we install this self-hosted on a single server and then we can use multiple people over there?
See, where to download the self-hosted integration runtime is from where you want to send the data. See, if I have a subscription, so for example, let's see, I have access to the same subscription and you are having the access to the same subscription. But the data which I want to send to my Azure is present on my desktop. So I will be downloading the self-hosted integration runtime on my desktop. So wherever the data is present, there the data which you want to send to cloud, wherever this data is present, there you need to install the self-hosted integration runtime.
Okay, that means like if I am sitting on one PC and accessing the two servers, one is one server basically, and dumping the data into Azure, then I should be installing the integration runtime on the server itself, not on my machine, right?
Yeah, if your data is present on that server, you should download the self-hosted integration runtime on that server, not on your
On that
machine.
server, not on my machine.
Yes.
Correct. Okay, thank you. That's
See,
all I got. Thank you.
wherever your data is present, there you should be installing this self-hosted integration runtime software.
Okay, okay, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's irrespective of the subscriptions and pieces which is. It's where you're having the data matters. There you need
okay.
to install it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's everything. One more.
Yeah, yeah.
Databricks. Can we treat Databricks as a SQL server in Azure?
No, 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 no,
Or
no.
mhm. Okay, Databricks is completely different, right?
Yeah, it's completely different. It is the Spark environment on cloud. Databricks is something. Spark. It's not nowhere related to this database. Databricks is the Spark environment on Azure.
Okay, okay, okay. Yeah, you're going to cover the basics about the Databricks, right? And like last
Oh yeah, yeah.
thing.
When we are
Yeah,
yeah
yeah.
when we're starting this,
Okay.
yes. So in
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
just Spark environment means massive parallel processing. Those all. So
Yeah.
it's related to all those concepts, not nowhere related to this.
Okay, okay, okay. Yeah, that's everything for me. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. So basically, we use this Databricks for processing the data.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a Spark
Okay.
environment. So it's not for storing the data. So when you take these databases, it's these we use for storing the data also, no?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is Databricks is something you use for processing the data. So Spark, it's a Spark environment on cloud, not only on Azure. It's a Spark environment on cloud. So Azure's Databricks is Azure Databricks. So Databricks is completely different. Yeah, Databricks is
Oh,
something. It's a Spark environment on cloud. So which you use for processing the data.
okay. Not storing the data.
Yes.
Okay. Fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah. Any other guys having any questions? So if no questions, then we are good to close. It's already been 9:52. Yeah. Bye everyone. Thank you. Take
Thank
care.
you.
Good night.
Bye.